My name was Ibrahim. I was an Imam, a well-respected figure within my community in Barcelona, adhering to the doctrines that shaped my identity. At 35, I held the authority of tradition in my hands, guiding others in rituals that we believed brought us closer to the divine. Yet beneath the surface of reverence, I was haunted by an emptiness, a growing chasm deep within my soul that no prayer or recitation could fill. I questioned everything, whispering fears into the silence of my heart. What if the path I followed was leading me astray? And then, one fateful night, everything changed. A near-death experience, a moment suspended between life and darkness, where I confronted that void head-on. I found myself in a desolate expanse, surrounded by shadows that whispered deceit. It was there, amidst this suffocating despair, that I encountered a blinding light. Jesus stood before me, calling my name with a love that shattered the chains of my belief system. He revealed the profound battle waging around me, one that transcended the walls of our mosque. It was a war against truth, against the very essence of who I was. With those revelations came perilous clarity. The structures I held dear were infiltrated by deeper agendas, subtle manipulations that silenced the very doubts I harbored. I suddenly realized I had been serving a narrative designed to control, rather than seeking the true light of God. The implications were seismic, igniting a fire that pulled me toward a truth I was terrified to acknowledge. Returning from that spiritual abyss, I was met not with understanding, but with rejection. My family, my community, labels of heretic and traitor were hastily pinned upon my chest. The fear of losing everything I'd ever known weighed heavily on my conscience. Yet with each heartbeat, the urgency to seek further intensified. I began to explore the very scriptures I had dismissed, drawn like a moth to the flame of a newfound hope. In a world where many are shackled by the confines of their beliefs, I stand before you today, compelled to share this sacred truth. My journey isn't just my own. It resonates with a collective awakening, urging lost souls to rise. Now, I invite you to join me. This isn't merely a story. This is a call to arms in the spiritual battle of our time. As we delve deeper into this incredible testimony, comment below. Where are you watching from, and what time is it there? I want to connect with you to understand the reach of this message. And if you too feel the pull of truth whispering to your spirit, subscribe to Truth from Beyond. You won't want to miss what's coming next. A revelation that promises to shatter illusions and illuminate the path towards freedom. In the heart of Barcelona, nestled within a historic mosque that stands as a testament to centuries of faith, I felt a profound sense of purpose. My name is Ahmed, and as an Imam, I had dedicated my life to guiding my community through the teachings of Islam. The vibrant atmosphere during prayers filled me with pride. Yet beneath this veneer of devotion, I struggled with a sense of rigidity regarding my spiritual doubts. It was as though an unspoken rule dictated that questioning one's faith was a taboo, and the weight of that expectation often felt unbearable. One ordinary day, as I prepared for the evening prayers, I found myself plunged into a deep reflection, grappling with the emotions that had been festering within me. The words I recited felt less like a connection to God, and more like an echo of tradition. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing, a vital connection that transcended mere ritual. In that moment of introspection, I felt a wave of fatigue wash over me, pulling me into a trance-like state, far from the reality I knew well. Suddenly, the world around me faded to darkness. In that void, I encountered a brilliant light that illuminated my surroundings. revealing the figure of Jesus standing before me. His presence radiated warmth and love, a stark contrast to the turmoil I felt. When he called my name, it resonated through me, awakening a deep yearning for truth and understanding. In that profound experience, Jesus began to share revelations that shattered the illusions I had held for so long. He revealed the hidden agendas that have manipulated societies for generations, unveiling the deception that cloaks our understanding of spirituality and divides us as human beings. With each word Jesus spoke, I felt the layers of deception peel away from my understanding. He exposed the spiritual war at play, one that ensnares us into conflicts that distract from our true spiritual purpose. I witnessed how the elite orchestrate division and fear, using our beliefs as tools to control and manipulate. The realization struck me like a lightning bolt. What I once thought was unwavering faith had masked deeper truths waiting to be uncovered. The struggle I faced was not only mine. It mirrored the collective anxiety of countless individuals grappling with the same hidden deceptions. As the experience began to fade, and I was thrust back into my body within the mosque, I emerged forever changed. The urgency to share this awakening surged within me. I knew that my calling was no longer just to lead prayers, but to confront the very structures that bind us in ignorance. I felt compelled to speak out amidst the tension of my surroundings, knowing that the truth must be shared, even in the face of rejection. I understood that the spiritual war was real, and this awakening was a chance not only to liberate myself, but to help guide others toward the same light of truth that Jesus had revealed to me. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but I was ready to embrace it, driven by the profound revelation that ignited the passion within me. I'm Ibrahim, a 35-year-old lawyer and respected member of my community. I've spent years building a life steeped in tradition, balancing my profession with my religious duties. Discipline defines my existence, and I strive to adhere to the norms that my faith demands. Yet, despite the appearances I uphold, a profound emptiness has settled within me. As I navigate the bustling streets of Barcelona and the halls of justice, I often feel an overwhelming disconnect from my spirituality. The rituals that once inspired me now leave me feeling hollow, burdened by an awareness that something essential is missing. As I engaged in my daily life, I fought against this emotional void. There were moments when I could see the disappointment in the eyes of my family and peers, expressions that reinforced my doubts. I often felt trapped by the expectations of those around me, struggling to maintain a facade of belief. The pressure to appear devout weighed heavily on my heart, leading me to question my true faith. Was I merely adhering to tradition out of fear? This thought haunted me as I wrestled with my inner demons, creating a tension I could no longer ignore. One evening, while I prepared for a significant case, the turmoil reached a tipping point. After shutting my office door, I closed my eyes, seeking a moment of stillness, but what followed was anything but ordinary. I found myself drawn into a state of deep contemplation, and suddenly, I was enveloped in darkness. The cacophony of life around me faded, replaced by a profound sense of isolation. That isolation morphed into illumination as a brilliant light emerged, and in that light stood Jesus. His presence radiated peace, filling the void that had haunted me for so long. In that sacred encounter, Jesus called my name, and as he did, the burdens I carried began to lift. He began to reveal deep truths about the hidden agendas that manipulate our society. His words struck me with clarity, casting light on the spiritual war we all engage in, a battle waged not only within ourselves but across the globe. I gained insight into how the elite perpetuate deception to maintain control, fostering division among us to distract from the truth. As the revelation unfolded, I realized the extent of my own ignorance and the ways I had allowed fear to dictate my understanding of faith. With each revelation, a sense of urgency grew within me. It was as if Jesus was compelling me to face my fears and awaken to the truth, not just for myself but for my community. The emotional unrest I felt transformed into a passionate desire to share these insights with others. I needed to help those who, like me, were grappling with disillusionment, trapped in cycles of doubt and confusion. As I began to return to my physical self, I understood that from that moment forward, my life would never be the same. I was called to be an agent of change, armed with the understanding of this spiritual war, ready to confront the deception and guide others toward the awakening that awaited them. During my daily prayers at the historic mosque in Barcelona, I often found myself grappling with an inexplicable void. My name is Ibrahim, and I've dedicated my life to serving as an Imam and guiding my community in our faith. On the surface, everything seemed in place. I was respected and held in high regard, but beneath that facade, an unsettling disquiet had begun to take root. As I knelt in prayer, my heart felt heavy, and I often questioned the validity of what I was doing. The rituals I once took comfort in now felt perfunctory and distant, and I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something essential was missing. The emptiness intensified over time, and at night, I began experiencing enigmatic dreams. They were vivid, often unsettling, filled with images that left me waking in a cold sweat. I would see shadowy figures whispering hidden truths, and in the midst of it all, I saw the face of Jesus, radiant and loving, beckoning me toward understanding. Each dream left me with more questions than answers. What were these visions trying to tell me? Why was I being confronted with such profound doubts when I had committed my life to serving God and guiding others? These dreams stirred an inner turmoil that I was afraid to voice, fearing judgment from my community. As these feelings of disillusionment brewed within me, I sought solace in my studies. I delved deeper into the teachings of Islam, hoping to find the answers that were eluding me. However, the more I searched, the more doubts began to creep in about the religious system I was a part of. I couldn't help but wonder if there was a hidden agenda at play, manipulated by the elite to keep believers like myself in line, shackled by fear and adherence to dogma. Each new revelation felt like a spark igniting a fire of awakening inside me, but the fear of what that meant kept me paralyzed. It was during one particularly vivid dream that everything changed. I found myself in the dark desert, an emptiness surrounding me, where the only light came from the presence of Jesus. He called my name, and in that moment, I felt an overwhelming wave of love and acceptance wash over me. Jesus spoke to me about the deception that permeates our world, the ideals held by those in power, exploiting faith for their gain. He revealed how the spiritual war we face is not solely a battle of belief, but also a struggle against the forces that seek to manipulate and control us. I saw visions of war and division, how easily people could be lured into fighting each other, while the true manipulators remained hidden in the background, untouched by the chaos. When I awakened, the revelation resided in the very core of who I was. My heart raced as I grappled with the implications of what I had experienced. I could no longer ignore the truth that had been revealed to me. I understood that I had a responsibility to share this new understanding, not just for my sake, but for the sake of my community, who were also affected by these hidden deceptions. Taking a deep breath, I felt a renewed sense of purpose emerge from the void that had once engulfed me. I knew that embracing this truth meant being vulnerable and facing the fears that had kept me silent for so long. The awakening had begun, and I was ready to step into the light, even if it meant confronting the darkness that lay ahead. One introspective night, my life took a sharp turn when an accident thrust me into a near-death experience that would change everything. I'm Ibrahim, a mufti in a historic mosque in Barcelona, where I've dedicated my life to serving my community and guiding them in their faith. Yet that evening, after spending time in reflection, I found myself caught in an unexpected moment of chaos. The last thing I remember was driving home, lost in thought, before the world around me faded into darkness. When I regained consciousness, I was not in my car, but standing in a vast, dark, oppressive desert. The weight of that emptiness was suffocating, and fear gripped my heart. It felt as if I were wandering through a void, detached from reality and purpose. The isolation pressed against me, each moment deeper than the last. But then, amidst the heavy darkness, a brilliant light emerged, piercing through the despair. As I turned toward the light, I saw the figure of Jesus approaching me, his presence radiating warmth and compassion. When he called my name, it felt as though time stood still. I was overcome with an overwhelming sense of peace, a stark contrast to the fear I had felt just moments before. As he spoke to me, the revelations began to flow, and I knew I was witnessing something extraordinary. Jesus unveiled truths that shattered the illusions I'd clung to, revealing the hidden agendas behind the belief systems I had followed. With each word, he illuminated the spiritual war that raged not just within my soul but across the world, a struggle of truth against deception, light against darkness. I felt the gravity of his revelations sink in as he shared how the elite manipulate people's beliefs, using them as tools to sow division and chaos. The things I had taken for granted, the traditions I thought were sacred, began to unravel. I saw the deceptions that kept so many prisoners of ignorance, afraid to question the narratives that shaped their lives. This was not merely an individual awakening. It was a call to recognize the global conflict, spiritual, political, and social, waged in silence. Each of these truths echoed loudly, reverberating through my being and pulling me deep into a well of understanding. When the experience began to fade, I felt a renewed sense of purpose fill the void that had once consumed me. I returned to my life forever changed, armed with revelations that demanded action. How could I stay silent while others remained trapped within the confines of cultivated fear and misunderstanding? My encounter with Jesus had ignited a fire within me, compelling me to share my experience and awaken those around me. I knew I had to confront this spiritual war, to challenge the deception that clouded our collective vision. Preparing myself to face the backlash from my community, I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility on my shoulders. The truth was now my mission, and I was ready to walk the path towards awakening no matter the cost. When I returned to life after my encounter with Jesus, the world felt fundamentally altered. I'm Ibrahim, a mufti who had devoted himself to his faith and community in Barcelona, but now I faced the harsh reality of rejection and alienation. My newfound understanding was met with fierce opposition. Family and friends who once respected me now regarded me as a heretic, and the weight of their disdain pressed heavily upon me. I felt as though I were walking a tightrope, teetering between the guilt of abandoning the traditions I had known and the fervent desire to explore this new spiritual awakening. Every conversation became a reminder of my isolation. I watched as the people I cared about turned away from me, their eyes filled with disappointment and confusion. The whispers of judgment followed me, creating an invisible barrier that felt impossible to breach. I often found myself wrestling with feelings of terror. It was as if I had stepped into a different reality, one that my loved ones couldn't understand and perhaps never would. Yet, deep within, the call to understand more about Jesus and the truths he had shown me grew stronger. Late at night, as I sat alone, I reflected on the revelations that Jesus had shared. I could still hear his voice, urging me to seek the truth and challenge the hidden agendas that manipulate our lives. I began to realize that the elite created a web of deception, designed to keep us enslaved to fear and conformity. I saw how easily we could be divided, how religion could sometimes become a tool for control rather than a bridge to enlightenment. It became clear that the spiritual war was not just external but internal, a struggle against the fears that sought to keep us from awakening. In the days following my return, I found myself in a constant state of conflict. Each moment was laced with the fear of further disappointment from my family, balanced against the urgent need to share what I had learned. I felt compelled to speak out, to challenge the norms that had governed my life, and yet the fear of backlash was paralyzing. The dichotomy between my responsibilities as a mufti and my desire to explore the depths of my awakening created a maelstrom within me, echoing the larger societal tensions I had observed in the world around me. As I navigated these tumultuous waters, I began to seek out others who were also wrestling with their faith. I cautiously formed connections with those who echoed my sentiments. Our conversations became lifelines, offering not only support but also the realization that we were not alone in this battle for truth. We spoke passionately about the urgent need for awakening, a collective realization that would empower us against the manipulation we faced. Despite the challenges, there was hope in our unity, and I felt a profound commitment to continue on this path, sharing what I had experienced and learned with those who remained in the dark. Determined to seek the truth, I found myself drawn to the Bible, hiding away in the quiet corners of my home, away from the gaze of my family and community. I'm Ibrahim, a respected Imam in a historic mosque in Barcelona, but after encountering Jesus during my spiritual journey, my entire perspective shifted. The teachings I had upheld for so long began to crumble in light of the profound revelations he shared with me. Every time I opened the pages of that sacred book, I found solace and clarity amid the confusion that had taken root in my heart. In the darkness of night, when everyone else was asleep, I would watch countless videos online, listening to others share their transformative experiences. It was illuminating to hear their testimonies, how they too had wrestled with spiritual doubts and found themselves in similar encounters with Jesus. These voices resonated with my own struggle for meaning and understanding. The urgency of awakening to the deception that permeated our world gripped me. I knew there were hidden agendas at play, orchestrated by the elite, who sought to maintain control over our beliefs and actions. As I immersed myself in these teachings, a growing sense of isolation began to envelop me. My family, who had always looked up to me for guidance and faith, had become suspicious of my newfound interests. I longed for their acceptance but feared that my pursuit of truth could lead to estrangement. Each day felt like walking on a tightrope, where one misstep could result in a fall into isolation. Yet despite this fear, the desire to uncover the truth became a beacon, guiding me through the darkness of uncertainty. The internal struggle intensified as I balanced the teachings of the mosque with the revelations I was discovering. Jesus showed me the spiritual war that we're all engaged in, the battle against forces of deception that lie not only within us, but also in the systems that govern society. I started recognizing the political and social manipulations that kept us divided. The events unfolding around the world, wars fueled by fear and propaganda, began to take on new meaning. I was no longer just an observer. I felt compelled to engage, to challenge these narratives and awaken the hidden potential in those around me. With every revelation, I felt more emboldened to share what I had learned, but self-doubt crept back in. What if they rejected me? What if my family turned their backs completely? As I connected with others who shared their journeys of awakening, I found strength in our shared experiences. Together, we forged a community of seekers, united by our mutual quest for truth. It became clear that the path to spiritual peace would not come without sacrifice. But the light of understanding was worth the struggle. I resolved to face the challenges ahead, ready to stand for the truth that had awakened my soul, knowing that this spiritual journey had only just begun. Over time, I began to recognize my experience as a divine calling to enlighten others about the truths I had uncovered. My name is Ibrahim, and as an Imam in a historic mosque in Barcelona, I had devoted my life to guiding my community in faith. But after my encounter with Jesus, everything shifted. The wonderful revelations I received felt like a second chance, awakening a sense of purpose within me that I could no longer ignore. I came to understand that sharing my new faith was essential, even amid the risks of persecution that loomed large over me. The fear of rejection from my family and community haunted me. I had devoted so much of my life to being a good Muslim, but now I questioned the very foundation of my belief. I felt torn between my responsibilities as an Imam and the fervent desire to share the revelations that Jesus had imparted to me. The spiritual war one faced was not just my own. It echoed throughout the lives of those around me. Standing in that mosque, I sensed the stirring doubts in the hearts of my community members, trapped in routines that kept them ignorant of the deeper truths I had encountered. With every passing day, my courage grew as I delved into the teachings of Jesus, searching for ways to bring light to those in darkness. I began connecting with others who had similar experiences, forming a small but supportive group. Together, we engaged in deep discussions about the hidden agendas that manipulate our beliefs. The revelations about the elite and their attempts to control the narrative around spirituality resonated fiercely with us. It became clear that our awakening extended to challenging these structures and liberating others from the shackles of deception. In our meetings, the air was charged with a sense of urgency. We explored the implications of our spiritual awakenings, considering how they linked to the larger societal struggles we faced. I spoke passionately about the urgency of awakening, a collective realization that could unify our community against the forces that sought to create division. It was clear that we were not merely fighting for our understanding of faith, we were battling for the fundamental human rights and dignity of everyone caught in this spiritual war. The weight of my calling pressed down on me, and I knew I had to act. My heart raced as I prepared to share these insights with a wider audience, daring to confront the fear of backlash. I wasn't just stepping away from tradition, I was moving toward a future filled with potential and hope. The journey was fraught with uncertainty, but the truth I had discovered burned brightly within me. I felt a sense of liberation as I became a voice for those still trapped in their doubts and fears. The passion to spread hope and truth ignited my spirit, and I was ready to take that leap, determined to awaken not only my community, but anyone yearning for spiritual freedom in a world steeped in deception. In a courageous decision, I chose to leave behind my old life. I'm Ibrahim, An imam who has spent years guiding my community through the teachings of Islam, yet after my profound encounter with Jesus, everything changed. The heaviness of tradition that once provided a comfortable anchor suddenly felt oppressive. I took a deep breath, knowing that in order to fully embrace the revelations that had illuminated my path, I needed to distance myself from the expectations that had bound me. I changed my name, a symbolic act of shedding my former identity and stepping into a life dedicated to the truth I had discovered. The decision to embark on this journey was not one I made lightly. I understood the risks all too well. Leaving my community would mean facing isolation and the judgment of those I had once held dear. As I stepped away from the mosque that had been my home, I felt a mixture of fear and freedom. The road ahead was uncertain, yet deep within my heart I felt the urgency to share the message of Jesus and the light he had brought into my life. I longed to help others who were grappling with doubts and the same spiritual war one had faced. Venturing into the world outside my old life, I felt a calling to evangelize, to spread hope in a society that often seemed shrouded in darkness. Armed with the truths I had learned about the hidden agendas of the elite and the deception that perpetuated division among us, I sought out those yearning for spiritual freedom. I found that many people around me shared a similar longing, a desire to connect deeply with their faith while grappling with the constraints imposed upon them. Those conversations became a lifeline. We began to build a community of seekers united by our quest for truth. However, the road was not without its challenges. Each encounter with opposition from my former community was a stark reminder of what I had left behind. Family members and friends expressed their disapproval, attempting to pull me back into the safety of their familiar beliefs. I faced verbal assaults and occasional isolation, which tested my resolve. Yet, every time I spoke about the transformative power of Jesus and the urgent need to awaken from deception, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I knew that the truth must be shared, regardless of the personal cost. With each testimony I gave, I witnessed the flickers of awakening in the eyes of others, and that ignited my passion even more. As I stood at the crossroads of my past and my future, I was acutely aware of the weight of my mission. The spiritual revelations Jesus had shared with me were not just for my benefit, but were meant to empower others to break free from the chains of ignorance. I couldn't allow fear to dictate my actions. I had to move forward with courage and conviction, despite the solitude that often accompanied my new path. The urgency of the spiritual war we face became my rallying cry. With each new day, I was reminded that I was part of this awakening, a journey that was shared among those brave enough to seek the truth. The journey had only begun, and I was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead in my quest for understanding and connection. Years later, I found myself in a different country, far from the historic mosque in Barcelona where my journey began. I'm Ibrahim, and I've dedicated my life to sharing the story of my awakening and all that I learned during my encounter with Jesus. Those revelations that initially thrust me into turmoil have now become a source of strength, helping me impact lives in my new community. Every day I strive to guide others who are still trapped in the cycle of deception, urging them to break free from societal norms and discover the truth that lies beyond. Despite the distance from my family and former community, a seed of hope still blooms within me. I dream of a day when I might reconcile with them, sharing not just my story but also the peace I've found through my spiritual battle. That hope helps me navigate the lingering pain of rejection. Each time I think about my loved ones, I feel a mix of longing and sorrow, Yet I also recognize the importance of continuing my mission. This spiritual war extends beyond my personal struggles. It encompasses my desire to bring awareness to others who feel the same disconnection I once experienced. As I move through this new chapter, I reflect on the journey that led me here. I once lived under the weight of expectations, a life governed by tradition and the desire to uphold my family's honor. The accident that changed everything thrust me into a realm of spiritual awakening, revealing truths that were hidden beneath the surface. Encountering Jesus opened my eyes to the manipulation at play within society, the hidden agendas of the elite that seek to control beliefs and generate division. The insight was overwhelming, and with it came a fierce desire to expose these deceptions and advocate for the truth. I've become deeply involved in local outreach, connecting with individuals who are yearning for spiritual freedom. Sharing my story is both an act of defiance and a gesture of love. I want people to know that they are not alone in their struggles, that there are alternate paths available to them. The passion I felt ignited during my transformation continues to drive me. It feels like a calling I cannot ignore. In conversations with those who feel lost, I see the flickers of awakening begin to spark. It's in those moments, when hearts open to the possibility of change, that I find hope. Though the road is fraught with challenges and the shadow of rejection looms, I am unwavering in my commitment to this mission. I remind myself that each revelation bears a responsibility. The truths I've uncovered must be shared, regardless of the backlash I might face. I'll continue to walk this path of awakening, knowing that it is part of a larger spiritual war. My goal is to empower others, to lead them toward the light of understanding, and hopefully, to one day bring my family back into this newfound truth. The journey is ongoing, and I am prepared to face the unknown with the strength I've gained from my encounter with Jesus. As I sat quietly in the historic mosque in Barcelona, leading prayers and surrounded by my community, I began to feel a profound emptiness gnawing at my spirit. My name is Ibrahim, and although I had been an Imam for years, guiding others through the tenets of faith, I was grappling with my own beliefs. Every prayer I recited seemed to echo with an unsettling hollowness, leaving me questioning the validity of the very faith I preached. I could sense an invisible weight pressing down on me, a silent struggle against the expectations imposed by my role. One fateful night, while caught in a trance of reflection after leading the evening prayers, I was suddenly enveloped by darkness. It felt as if my soul was being pulled into an abyss, and the chaos of my inner turmoil became tangible. In that moment, I experienced what could only be described as a near-death experience. As the darkness enveloped me, I saw a glimmer of light in the distance, drawing me toward it. When I reached it, I found myself standing in a vast desert, an oppressive silence surrounding me. Amidst that void, the brilliant figure of Jesus emerged, radiating a warmth that cut through the darkness. When he called my name, it was as if the universe itself responded. His presence filled me with an indescribable peace, and as he spoke, profound revelations poured forth. Jesus opened my eyes to the spiritual war that is waged not only within each of us but also on a global scale. He shared insights about the hidden agenda of the elite, illustrating the ways they manipulate our beliefs, sowing division and conflict to maintain control. As I listened intently, the words he spoke resonated deeply, revealing the deceptions that had long governed my understanding of spirituality. I recognized how the constructs of religion could sometimes enslave rather than liberate, creating barriers between ourselves and the truth. I was overcome by the urgency of his message, realizing that my own struggles mirrored those of countless others who felt stifled by their adherence to dogma and tradition. The truths surrounding us, obscured by the shadows of manipulation, needed to be exposed, challenging the narratives that held us captive. When the experience faded and I returned to consciousness, everything felt different. The revelation I had received transformed my internal conflict into a passionate desire to share the light that Jesus had unveiled to me. I knew I could no longer remain silent. I had to confront the fear of rejection from my community and family. The awakening was not just for me. It was a call to engage others in this struggle against deception. I felt the weight of divine purpose on my shoulders, ready to step into the light and guide those who yearned for truth and understanding, despite the obstacles that lay ahead. As I reflect on the journey that began with a profound encounter in that historic mosque, I realize that the awakening I experienced isn't isolated to just me. It's a clarion call for all who are seeking truth, seeking liberation from the chains of fear and manipulation that bind our hearts. I'm Ibrahim, and my transformation is a mirror reflecting the struggles many face in a world filled with deception. The light of understanding that Jesus shared with me isn't just meant for the few. It's a universal invitation for anyone willing to open their heart and mind to a deeper reality. Have you felt that twinge of dissatisfaction, that longing for something beyond what you've been taught? Many people, just like you, are caught in the throes of their own spiritual battles, facing inner turmoil that begs for resolution. I urge you to explore those questions, to challenge not just your beliefs, but the very structures that dictate how we see one another. Are you ready to uncover the hidden truths that have eluded so many? Your experience, your voice, it's uniquely powerful. Share your thoughts in the comments. I deeply want to hear your stories, your awakenings, your reflections. Together, we can ignite a powerful movement of understanding. If this message resonates within you, I invite you to subscribe to Truth from Beyond. By subscribing and enabling notifications, you won't miss out on the revelations yet to come, each promising to shed light on the shadows that have obscured the truth for far too long. We are living in pivotal times, and your journey toward awakening can inspire many others who feel lost. As we step into this significant spiritual war together, know that you are not alone. In our next video, we'll share a captivating testimony that dives even deeper into the divine revelations encountered during a near-death experience, further illuminating the universal truths that bind our souls. It's a story of hope, awakening, and courage. A story that could change everything for you and those you love. Thank you for being with me today. I'm Ibrahim, and I believe in the power of truth to transform lives. Together, let's awaken to the reality before us, daring to shift the narrative and reclaim our spiritual freedom. Until next time, stay vigilant in your pursuit of truth. The journey has only just begun.